Hi, everyone. Ira Coiner here from Triathlon Partners TV. Thank you very much for tuning in. This episode, we're going to be discussing the structured notes that are being offered in the month of November. Before we get into things, I'd like to please invite everyone to subscribe to the channel. We really appreciate that. We appreciate all the thumbs up, all the friends and the followers. If you catch us on some other social media sites, please give us those thumbs up and the hearts. We love it. And let's get into structured notes. All right. Now, these are a very interesting product. Again, we've talked about it before. They offer some protection on the downside, and they offer a chance to get increased gains on the top side, which this is great. Limiting your losses, increasing your grant gains. Great, right? These are the types of risks that we like, and these are things that suit long-term investors very well. Now, the reason I think now is a great time to talk about them is usually in the first year after a presidential election, we have very large gains in the market, more so than the average year, right? So that's great. You want to keep your money in the market. However, we've just had a great year, and the year just seemed to keep on propelling higher and higher. As soon as Biden dropped out, it went higher. People thought Kamala Harris was going to be president. She was the favorite at that time. Market went higher. Then October surprise, Trump started gaining momentum. Market went higher. Trump gets elected, market goes higher. Just seemed to go higher no matter who was in the lead or who won. All right, so we can understand why after a year that the market's up over 20%, that people might be skeptical about putting new money into the market. Okay? Perfectly reasonable point. So to counter that, we think structured notes are a great thing. Again, we've talked about how these notes give you the protection as well as you get a bonus upside. So I have two products that I want to compare today. Might go through a little bit quickly, but I do have some graphics and I'm going to share my screen so that this is fantastic, right? So here we go, share. All right, so these notes, the ones we're going to be talking about today, are called the worst performers, right? So they offer fantastic risk reward, but part of it is you don't know what index you're going to own at the end of the term, right? So they pick three indexes, and this one has the Nasdaq 100, the S&P 500, and the Russell 2000, all very common indexes in the US. You got tech, the overall economy, and small caps. So from that standpoint, everyone, when you're investing, these are three basic ones, very popular ones out there, right? So we have three different notes that are being issued this month. One of them is for 4 years, and it's based on the worst performing. So from now until when the note expires in 4 years, whichever one performs the worst is the one that we're going to calculate our payment on. So the first one has a 100% floor, which means if the worst note is negative, if the worst index is negative, you don't lose any money, you get 100% of your principal back. Great, right? This is exactly what we want. And on the profit side, if the worst one is positive, you get 150% of its gains. So if it's up 10%, get 15%. If it's 20%, you get 30%. The only thing is this has a cap of 43.6%. So after the 4 years, that's the maximum amount that you can actually make. But if we look for 4 years, the average return to hit that cap is between 10 and 11%. Really isn't bad considering what the average return on these indexes are, and that you can't lose money, right? So from that standpoint, that's great. But let's compare them to two other notes on the same worst of those three. One of them has a 15% buffer, which means pretty much the first 15% loss you're not responsible for, and then once it goes down 15%, more than 15%, you start being responsible for that loss one-to-one, and that's on the worst of the three. This one, the participation rate's a little less at 139%, but there's no cap, right? Which could be very attractive to some people. No cap for 3 years. So that's really great. That's something to consider when you're looking at that or comparing, really. And then we have another one that's 3 years that has a barrier of 70%, which means you get your money back. You get 100% of your money back if the worst performing is better than 70% of its original level, right? So 70%. So let's say that worst one is down 25%, you get 100% of your money back. If it's down 40%, you actually lose 40%. So that's the same as if you were long the actual index. However, this does not have a cap, which is great, and it has a participation rate of 164%. So you have to sort of think, where are you comfortable being long equities? The market goes down 30%. Is that where I want to start to lose money? As well as the participation rate from here going higher at 164% in the next 3 years might be a risk you're willing to take. But when we look at buying all these indexes on their own, which a diversified portfolio would have, you're going to be long one of them. Substituting this in, because it has some of this barrier, which could offer some protection, as well as this enhanced participation, is really something that, when we integrate into our portfolios, really helps us achieve better returns with lower volatility. So I'm going to go over another one, which this one is for international stocks, which people worried about the geopolitical situation. Trump coming in, people don't like what he says about China and Russia and what's going on in the Middle East. All right, well, here's something to allay some concerns. This product is on 2 indexes, the worst one of the EFA index, which is an ETF that's based on Europe, the Far East, and Australia, all developed countries, all large companies, mid-cap companies. So kind of like an S&P 500 for a developed world that's not the US and Canada. And the other one is the Euro Stock 50, which is the largest 50 stocks in Europe across 11 Eurozone countries, right? So we're going to look at the worst one of those is based on the performance we're going to have of the note. The first one is for 21 months, so less than 2 years, and has a floor of 95%. Which means you're only on the hook for 5%, and that's the first 5% loss in the worst in the worst index. Right? But you do have a participation of 122%, and there is no cap. Right? Fantastic, right? So that's something to really look at to say, well, I do have some international exposure. Is that something that's better than what I have? Probably. And these indexes are things that you probably already own in your portfolio. So having a floor that you can only lose 5% and that you have participation of over 120% is fantastic, right? And another one, a lot longer, it's 5 years, and it has what we had talked about before, that barrier protection. The ones on the US indexes was 70, this one is 65%, and the participation rate is 240%, which is quite large, right? So you really have to weigh which one might be for you, or maybe a little bit of both. Really have to sit down and discuss it. Right? So from that standpoint, I wanted to introduce both of those. I hope that gives you something to think about. And of course, if you're thinking about them, we'd love for you to give us a call so we can discuss them to figure out what's right for you. Please look, I put the disclaimer up there. I'm getting a little bit better with that. And from that standpoint, thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. And please, you know, our mission is to engage, educate, and empower our clients. So please reach out and give us a call if you're interested in any of these products, because we really do think this is the right time to add them to your portfolio. And take care. Everyone have a very blessed day. Bye.